This is Oldecam, without not a spring chick, because we got breaking news, and basically she's covering it on her side, and I'm here. Basically, the lawmakers and the White House disappointed the fact that today Congress did not pass the legislation that was going to pass. It seems that Nancy Pelosi, right before the vote, decided to make it a partisan thing. You know, the Republicans are responsible, and we're trying to bail the fat cats out, so forth and so forth. So she soured the water, and Republicans just simply said no. Basically, what was planning to do, we're going to sell the U.S. taxpayers $700 billion in banks' bad assets. This is what people don't seem to understand. It's a horrible selling job made worse by the fact the Democratic Party has simply used class warfare so long that it's like that when you've let the genie out of the bottle, when you need that genie to help you, meaning the people on the Republican side, that they're not going to simply come over. I mean, you soured the whole world towards the rich. And when you think it's something being done to benefit the wealthy, you're not going to get the support. Obama, though, was claiming victory this morning, that he helped push this thing through, and I don't think he claimed victory right now. We have other news. Hurricane Kyle spreads rain, wind in Maine on way to Canada. It's very unusual to have a hurricane going that far north. Then we've got also other news. Style and substance is at stake for Biden and Palin. Well, basically, it's all on Biden's side, because Biden could charm the pants off of anybody. All he's got to do is remember just to shut up. The SpaceX successfully launched its first commercial rocket into orbit. They've had so many failures so far. I mean, I don't think I risk putting money into them until they've had a lot of successes. The Oldecam Museum acquires letters sent from Nazi concentration camps, which must have been really a big deal in order to get those letters out of the hands of people that had them, because they're very personal, private things. Over just the Dow is over 500 points down since the House didn't pass the legislation. War on terror has not weakened Al-Qaeda. A worldwide poll says. Of course, all the people that says it hasn't weakened Al-Qaeda are basically the same people that wouldn't lift a finger to do anything to stop them to begin with. We got here's one. Futuristic series will depict mass exodus from U.S. Basically, it's got to do with the fact that economic situations in the United States are so bad that we're now going to Mexico and other places in the world. Basically, it's on HBO, and it's by the same people that bring you those things that Americans are evil, and they're going to be taught their lesson someday. And this is their way of showing that we're going to get taught our lesson. Officials say 15 dead are heard in the Lebanon explosion. Basically, it's the Muslim versus the Christian continually. The U.S. ambassador is appealing for patience in Afghanistan. Well, since there's not enough troops of ours there, and not enough troops of anybody else there, and they can go to Pakistan and for safe haven anytime they want. It makes things very difficult. That's probably a country that you more or less will probably eventually pull out of, because without Pakistan's support, there's no sense in keeping American soldiers in Afghanistan. There's an impasse over alternate minimum tax and other tax relief continues. Basically, what happens is, because the Democrats couldn't get their way, they're blaming the fact that 20 million people are going to have their taxes raised on the Republicans. Well, parliamentary procedure allows them to get around anything they want to get around, folks. Taliban assassins kill the top-ranking Afghan policewoman. Basically, they're trying to show women that women have one place, and it's definitely not without the mask on their face. 200 million Somali ransom demand for ships, and one crewman dies. This is a good one. I mean, we're talking that we have Russians and American military vessels, shadowing this thing, and I don't see how they think they're going to get $20 million. Eventually, the Russians are just going to pop the gun on them and blow a ship out of the water, because they're dictatorship. They don't care. Iraqi Christians protest end to legislative quotas. Well, basically, they don't have enough votes to put you in office. Why should you have a seat? I mean, it is a Muslim country. We got the sour economy tied to a psychology that fed the gas panic. Well, no. The gas panic has to do with the fact that the Democratic Party decided to teach the people in the petroleum industry a lesson, and the day after they started trying to teach them a lesson, the prices went up and they continued to go up until there's no money to buy anything now because the economy's suck. Here's one. This one's a real good one. Blacks and whites show prejudice along racial divide. That's another study that I'd love to be able to get my hands on the money to make it, because that's sort of a ridiculous study again. New York City Museum ship Intrepid coming home ship shape. Well, with a cell phone, they call to see from as how things are going. Basically, most of you have seen that the airship Intrepid was basically stuck in like 20 foot of mud, and the people that were pulling it out to take it to where it was going to go to dry dock to be fixed hadn't realized there was the mud there, and it's sort of a big brouhaha about the ridiculousness. I mean, they screwed up badly, folks. But here's one. Obama calls McCain economic ideas out of touch. Basically, the idea is that we have a sound financial situation. It is there. The problem is the fact that when you start screwing around with things, you cause problems to happen. It's called cause and effect. The fact that there are banks out there that have the money to buy other bad banks shows you how sound it is. Basically, the Asian markets that are calling after the U.S. bailout fall. They were falling last night. They had a hunch that things were going to be done. Oil is below $100 a barrel right now because they know that if we basically aren't going to be using as much, then they've got a problem. We've got Hawaiian judge stops doomsday lawsuit of a collider. I mean, this is the collider, the CERN in Great Britain. Like, we can stop something in Britain from happening. It's not going to happen. China's first spacewalk team returns to Earth. I mean, basically, they have a spacewalk. They have a space program now, folks, and they plan to put a space station up there, and only God knows what they plan to do with their station. Have you ever seen the movie Meteor with Sean Connery? And then we've got the thing on the big super collider. CERN rivals see molding magnets as par for the course. Well, basically, they really weren't ready to do what they were ready to do, and the magnets melted to basically tell them to do it right next time. And I got one that's really stupidity. New software turns PC into TiVo TV recorder. Oh God, you can do that you can basically do that on your PC with the Windows Media now. So, what's the difference? Another brilliant one. Japan's online social scene isn't so social. Well, if you've been to Japan, you know that it's not. Mexico pushes national campaign to lose weight. Well, that's not going to go anywhere because they like to eat in Mexico. I mean, it's the one pleasure they really have there is eating. Tainted milk crisis hits more global companies. Well, it seems that stuff is everything you can possibly think of, folks. FDA says change is coming in the wake of critical report. Well, God, you see how many things the FDA has out, should have had oversight on, and never been allowed to get onto the market that is currently on the market, and then they pull it off the market because they said there's problems. You should never got that far. I like this one. Airfares aren't taking off everywhere. Well, it's because of the fact that people aren't flying anymore. They stopped flying because they didn't like the lack of service and the prices were getting too high, so they're just sitting and not doing anywhere. Vacations were down a lot this year because people weren't flying. They weren't driving, weren't flying, so you're stuck. Here's a sad one. Hospital deaths of 40 newborn children shocked Turkey. Basically, somebody slipped up and they didn't do as much care as they should have, and the result was a bunch of innocent little kids dying. And I like this. Despite storms, Cuba expects tourism to grow. Well, there's a lot of people that it was a beautiful country to go to. I mean, I was there in Cuba before the communists took over, and I remember it as a magnificent place, friendly people, but now you really don't know what's going on over there. And then this one sort of goes into it. Pope says tourists must not harm the planet. Well, anything man does, in a sense, harms the planet, maybe. But then what if it's the grand design for man to harm the planet? The Pope didn't think of that one either, did he? We got a Monty Bubblism to the Mark Twain of the Animal Kingdom, which actually is sort of fitting today. In an election, you seldom get what you want, but you always get exactly what you deserve. Mark Twain says you get the best Congress that you can possibly afford.